subject for today is visioning. Visioning is the ability to see the future. Knowing where you want to go is the first step to getting there. So today we want to help you as a congregation take a look at what are the visions that God has for you. God is a vision giver. He gave Moses the vision of leading the children of Israel out of slavery. He gave Nehemiah the vision of building or rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. And through Jesus, he gave us the vision of the church. We're here at Steinman Mennonite Church. They are giving priority to visions. Each month they have a council meeting, and they begin with the first third of their meeting being given to vision. What does God want for them? What's the future hold? And it's brought a vibrancy to this congregation that is very commendable. We'd like to have you see what happens in this visioning task force and interview some of the people here.
Later on in our meeting, we're going to talk a little bit more around specifics around our children's Sunday school program for the fall. But I thought it would be important to start off the meeting doing some visioning around children's ministry here at Steinman. And so when we talk about visioning, we're really talking about the why. We're not talking so much about the how and the what. Those are things that can be really tempting to jump into, to think about the programming, to think about our game plan or strategy for how we're going to do that.
Steve, we've been looking in on your council meeting here, and you've been giving priority to visioning.
Right.
Do you do that all the time?
Yes, we do. Yes, we give 20 minutes or a third of our meetings to visioning at the beginning too.
We've heard about the visioning process that you do here at Steinman. Tell us more about it. How did you get started with this?
Well, the congregation went through sort of a major retooling, reorganization about 12 to 15 years ago, and decided to go with this model. When I was first here, we were still working with the church council model, in which all the major committees reported every council meeting every month. Sometimes it got kind of redundant. Often went from 7 o'clock till 9:30, 10, sometimes 10:30 in the evening. So when we started thinking about implementing a visioning time for 20 minutes or so at the beginning, we thought, how are we ever going to fit that in? But what we found is when we talk about the most important things, our purpose as a congregation, why we're here, who we're here to serve, how we're following Jesus, called to follow Jesus as a community, that some of the other minor details that took up more time and are easier to think about and focus on because they're practical and concrete, easy to talk about, fell into place, and we didn't spend as much time talking about those. So tonight, we know we need to rethink about our children's ministries beginning in the fall. And so that was the focus for this evening, for example.
As a pastor, what have you seen this do for the church?
I think it helps at least the vision focus team and our core teams, and in turn the congregation, keep coming back to why we're here as a church. What has God called us to be? Especially in relation to the community in which we're in and the particular gifts and capacities that we have as a congregation, as opposed to thinking mostly about the whats and the hows, and looking after facilities and finances and structures. Those are important.
But the whats and hows kind of fall into place if you know the whys.
Yes, you need to ask why first, and keep coming back to that.
So the questions that I had were, what do you want the children and youth of Steinman to know about God?
Janessa, you're chair of this visioning committee, and tonight you're dealing with children's ministries.
Yes.
Why? Why are you seeking to get a new vision for children's ministries?
Well, we wanted to take a step back and think a bit about our vision around children's ministry, in part because, like a lot of churches, we're struggling to keep some of our ministries going in terms of volunteer time. People don't have as much time as they used to. They might feel low energy. And so instead of just saying, we need to keep these programs going at all cost, or think about other programs that we might need to start, we wanted to take a step back and think about what the why behind all of that. Why are we running these programs? What is important for our children to know about God? What's important for our children to know about themselves, about the church? And so we took a few moments to think about that and to really do some brainstorming around the why, so that we can then move on to the how and the what from there.
How is this visioning team composed? How do people get selected for it?
So our gift discernment committee approaches members of the congregation and asks them if they want to serve on this committee. We have a representative from each of our 3 core teams. We have the pastors, and we have 3 members at large, and then an executive, so a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary treasurer role.
So it's pretty broadly represented in the church. It's a big group,
yeah, and it represents, there should be some input from, again, each of our core teams. We have a variety of ages. We try to have representation from a real cross-section of people in our congregation.
So how does this visioning work affect the congregation?
We had a couple Sundays where we actually spent our Sunday morning services and our Sunday school time asking questions. We had some time for feedback by survey and by internet survey before that.
And you gave leadership to that?
We did. And what came out of that were three goals or 3 visions for our congregation. This year we've decided to really focus on refugee support, on connecting with our community, and also on re-exploring our structure and why we do things the way we do them.
So it's really also a way of determining priorities. What's most important?
Yeah, and I think it gives a bit of cohesiveness, that each of the core teams knows that these are priorities, and so they can go back and talk to their committees and say, well, does this new event or this new idea actually fit with one of our goals for this year? And that's not to say we can't do it if it doesn't, but it might lead to some inspiration for them, and so that we have a more cohesive vision for the church. So, things that you want the kids here to know about God.
I get a feeling that this visioning work is very important. How does it feel for you to be on this important board, helping the congregation determine its visions?
I found it really exciting work. I really enjoy the visioning process, feeling like we are working together to discern God's will for our congregation. It's important work that we've been entrusted with. It involves a lot of listening to what you hear being said among people in the congregation, really prayerfully considering what is brought forward. And it's a great group of people to work with, and we really do genuinely enjoy spending time together, and there's a lot of laughter and a lot of support. We come to each meeting feeling just being very honest about how our week has been and where we're at, and that has been a great experience.
I noticed the dynamics of the group is just very good. There's nobody bored on your committee.
No, I certainly haven't felt that way.
Do you ever sit at home and wonder, why do I have to go to this meeting? Why did I agree to this?
I've actually found this group to be really life-giving. Some committees that you serve on, it can feel like a bit of a chore. There's so much to accomplish, but when we get together as a vision-focused team, there is so much. It's just so open. It's a time of visioning. It's very free flow. It doesn't feel like we are going through the agenda and ticking off the boxes and trying to accomplish something concrete. And so it's not a chore to go.
I sense the visioning process is not only life-giving to you, but also very life-giving to the congregation.
I hope so. We've done some goal setting and visioning as a congregation this year, and that has given us a lot of direction as a vision-focused team. To find ways to reflect those goals back to the congregation and see what we're doing and how they relate to those goals. And so I feel like that has been a process that has fed into itself. And so as we set goals, it helps us to determine direction, but it also reflects back what we're already doing. So that's been good.
You've been a real encouragement to us. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
In your discussion group, I encourage you to share what you have heard and seen here at Steinman. How does that apply to your congregation? Also, take a look at what visions God has already given your congregation. Vision in regard to mission, in regard to inviting people to make commitments, or vision in regard to training and study. And I believe you can affirm that God has been working in your congregation as well. Take time to dream. God gives visions to everyone, and I'm sure He has visions for you.